Hi everyone, today's topic is dividing whole numbers by fractions. Remember that you do not need to write down everything in this video, but be sure to jot down important information and at least one example of each type of problem that we cover into your math notebook. Remember also that you can pause to jot down important notes, rewind to view information again, and fast forward if you think you got it already. Just be careful, be sure that you don't fast forward too much that you miss out on something important. So let's begin with a review. Remember that division is grouping the total into equal groups. So we'll start with some whole number division examples. Here's an example, 20 divided by 5. 20 divided by 5 would be the total of 20 divided by 5. So how would we show 20 divided by 5? A great way to show this is 20 total blue dots being divided into groups of 5. And then we'll want to know how many groups there are. So make sure that you pause the video and jot this example down. This is a little different than fractions divided into whole numbers because fractions divided into whole numbers is sharing amongst those whole number groups of people. With normal division, it's just the total group or total amount being divided into groups, equal groups, and we want to know how many groups there are. So in this problem, 20 total blue dots divided into groups of 5. Each of these groups have 5 dots inside, and we want to know how many groups there are. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 groups. So that's why the answer is 4. 4 groups of 5 dots. So the first number, the dividend, tells you the total number of objects. The second number, the divisor, tells you how many objects are in each group, how many that you're circling. Here you're circling 5 each time. And then the answer, the quotient, tells you how many of those groups there are. 1, 2, 3, 4. So be sure to pause the video and jot this down because this is important information. All right, so we're going to take that knowledge and we're going to apply it to dividing whole numbers by fractions. With our example, 1 divided by 2/5. So we want to think to ourselves, how would we show 1 divided by 2/5 using the information we just talked about? And of course, we're going to start off with the tape diagram method. Okay, so the tape diagram method. We're going to take one whole and divide it into groups of 2/5 and then find out how many groups of those 2/5 there are. If you're confused, that's okay. We'll take a look at 1 divided by 2/5 together with the tape diagram method. Our first step is to draw and shade in the first number. We're always drawing and shading in the first number. That's the dividend. Our first number is 1, so I'm going to take 1 and I'm going to shade the entire thing in because it's one whole, so I'm shading in everything. I went ahead and drew 4 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, and divided into 5 parts. I only did this because I saw that the dividend had out of 5 parts, so I went ahead and did that. Okay, that's where I got the 5 parts from, the 2/5. But I'm making sure I'm shading in all of the 5 parts because my total is the one whole. It's kind of like your trail mix bag. This is the entire bag of trail mix. There's no air or anything like that. So the whole thing is shaded in. And I drew 5 parts inside so that I can prepare for my divisor. For step 2, I'm dividing my whole into groups based on the divisor. The divisor is 2/5, so I am circling groups of 2/5. 1 and 2. These are 2 parts out of the entire 5 parts, so I'm circling that in red. Here's another group of 2/5, and then for my third group, I only have 1/5. So I'm circling in that 1 and I'm leaving room for the other 1/5 that is missing. Okay, so I'm doing this on purpose. I have one group of 2/5, I have two group of 2/5, and this third group isn't quite there. So I'm leaving space for that second fifth that I don't have shaded in. So make sure that you pause the video and put this in your notebook. So that was steps 1 and 2. Drawing and shading in the first number, 1, and then dividing that one whole into groups of 2/5. So step 3 is where it gets tricky. Here's where we're counting how many groups of 2/5 there are. There's 1, there's 2, and there's not quite 3. There's half of what we needed. So that's why our answer is 2 1/2. There's 2 whole groups of 2/5 and then another half group of 2/5. So the answer is 2 1/2. It's a mixed number because we wanted to know how many groups of 2/5 can fit into that whole. There was one group, 2 groups, and then we had a loner left over, so that's why it was 2 1/2 groups of 2/5. Answer is 2 1/2. Now let's go over the algorithm method. Remember that division is the same as multiplying by the divisor, typo there, the divisor's reciprocal. So for the algorithm method, I'm taking 1 divided by 2/5, which is the same as 1 multiplied by the divisor's reciprocal, which instead of 2/5, it's 5/2, 5/2. We're switching their locations. 2 was on top, now it's on the bottom. 5 was on the bottom, now it's on top. So it's 1 times 5/2. So we're multiplying it across. 1 times anything keeps the number as it is. So it stays as 5/2. 5/2 is the same as 2 1/2. How did I get that? Because 5 divided by 2 is 2 1/2. So that's how we got 2 1/2. So 2 1/2 is the answer based on the algorithm method and based on the tape diagram method, because we saw 2 whole groups and a half group when we circled groups of 2/5. Remember, you need to know both methods, tape diagram method and algorithm method. So if you don't have both of them in your notebook, make sure you pause and rewind and get those notes in your notebook. Let's move on now to an example on Khan Academy. Here's our example on Khan Academy. 12 divided by 2/5. I'm going to go ahead and use the tape diagram method first. You should do that as well. Make sure you pause this video, try the tape diagram method and the algorithm method. Okay, tape diagram method first. As always, we are going to draw the first number, and that first number is 12. So I'm going to draw 12 holes. There's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, and there's 6 up here. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, and this is 12 holes, so I want to make sure that I shade in all of it. Every single thing is shaded in. It would be much better on your notebook with a highlighter because you can go a little thicker, while these are a little thinner with the shading. But remember, you're shading in the entire thing because it's not a fraction or a mixed number, it's a whole number. So the whole thing needs to be shaded in, and that's 12 of them. You can already see why some people prefer the algorithm method, right? Because if you have a huge number, like 12 or even 50, you're going to have to sit there and draw all of that. Thankfully, I won't do that to you. And this is being divided into 2/5. So I want to make sure that I have 4 lines drawn so I have fifths. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 4 lines will get you 5 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 to give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And you know, your parts don't have to be exactly the same. Just as long as they're kind of the same, you're good. All right, so now we have them divided into fifths. Think to yourself what we need to circle. What kind of groups do we need to circle? If you said groups of 2 fifths, you are correct. I need to circle every group of 2. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there's 15 here. This is just 6 more, so it should be 15 here as well. So 15 plus 15 should be 30. But if you don't believe me, let's go ahead and do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, right? Because these are 6 holes here and 6 holes here. So it should be 15 plus 15. And what did we circle? We circled in red groups of 2 fifths. 1, 2, circled it. 1, 2, circled it. 1, 2, circled it. So there are 30 groups of 2 fifths in 12, which makes sense, right? 2 fifths, there wasn't even half of it, so we had to circle a whole bunch of them. There's 30 of those little groups that fits into 12. That makes a lot of sense. Some people think, oh, it's division, so it means that the answer is going to be smaller. Not the case here, because we want to find out how many of those little groups fit into 12. So it's going to be a bigger number because a lot of those little groups will fit into 12. So we got 30 there. Let's test our algorithm method. Algorithm method, remember we're keeping that total, that dividend. We are changing the division into multiplication, and we're changing that that divisor into its reciprocal. So instead of 2 fifths, we have 5 halves. And if it helps, put a 1 over here so that you know what's on the top, what's on the bottom. Top times top, this is 12 times 5. 12 times 5. Let's see what 12 times 5 is. You can always use your calculator. That is 60. So we have 60 on the top. Okay. And then we are dividing it by 2. 60 divided by 2 would be 30. So both of these methods give us 30. So there we go. You can either draw all 12 holes and circle the groups of 2 fifths to get there, 30 groups, or you can use the algorithm method to get there. However, remember on an assessment, you will need to know both of these methods. I could ask you either one of them, so you want to practice both of them. Let me know as you're working if you have any questions. If not, I will see you in class. Good luck.